As of this very moment, refugees and other travelers from Iraq, Iran, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Libya, and Yemen are still allowed to enter the United States, blocking President Trump's plan for extreme vetting. Right now, our guard is down, and people are pouring into this country. Now, earlier today, President Trump had this to say about the Ninth Circuit Court's ruling. Take a look.
We are going to keep our country safe. We are going to do whatever is necessary to keep our country safe. We had a decision which we think we'll be very successful with. It shouldn't have taken this much time because safety is a primary reason. One of the reasons I'm standing here today is the security of our country. The voters felt that I would give it the best security. So we'll be doing something very rapidly having to do with additional security for our country. You'll be seeing that sometime next week. In addition, we will continue to go through the court process, and ultimately I have no doubt that we'll win that particular case.
And earlier today on Air Force One, President Trump said this.
We'll win that battle.
You also talk about
the unfortunate part is it takes time statutorily, so it takes a little time. We'll win that battle. But we also have a lot of other options, including just filing a brand new order on Monday. Could very well be. But I'd like to keep you, I'd like to surprise you. We need speed for reasons of security, so it could very well be that we do that.
Now, President Trump, he gets it. He's making the safety and security of you, the American people, a top priority, and for good reason. Now, we have been warned by top Obama administration intelligence and national security officials that ISIS could infiltrate the refugee population. They've all said it. Watch this.
Would that bring in Syrian refugees pose a greater risk to Americans?
I mean, it's clearly a population of concern.
The concern is in Syria, the lack of our footprint on the ground in Syria, that the databases won't have the information we need. So it's not that we have a lack of process, it's there's a lack of information.
And that obviously raises grave concern as to being able to do proper background checks of the individuals coming into the country.
Yes.
I don't obviously put it past the likes of ISIL to infiltrate operatives among these refugees.
We can only query against that which we have collected. And so if someone has never made a ripple in the pond in Syria in a way that would get their identity or their interests reflected in our database, we can query our database till the cows come home, but we're not going to. There will be nothing show up because we have no record on that person.
There is some fear that some of these refugees may actually be posing as refugees, but they might actually be Al-Qaeda or ISIS terrorists trying to sneak into Europe or the United States. What do you make of that?
Well, certainly that's a possibility. I mean, you can't dismiss that out of hand.
We should be conscious of the potential that Daesh may attempt to embed agents within that population.
Now, President Trump is listening to the top intelligence and defense officials in this country. And now the president of Syria, he's actually echoing those same concerns. Now, keep in mind, Syria is one of the countries on Trump's travel ban list. And here's what President al-Assad told Yahoo News. Take a look.
Are some of these refugees, in your view, aligned with terrorists?
Oh, definitely. And,
definitely.
Definitely. You can find it on the net. The same picture that you saw them, in some cases, of course, in some instances, those terrorists in Syria holding the machine gun or killing people, they are peaceful refugees in Europe or in the West in general. Yeah, that's true.
That's the Syrian president, essentially a guy who's a dictator, admitting that some refugees are definitely terrorists. Wow. Now, to make things worse, the Washington Times is reporting, quote, 77% of refugees allowed into the U.S. since the travel ban began come from the 7 suspect countries. And that's not all. Today, the people in Iran, they were celebrating the 38th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution by burning American flags and once again chanting death to America. Of course, this is nothing new from Iran, where American flags, Israeli flags, and that type of burning and chanting, well, that's like a favorite national pastime. You may remember when the supreme leader of Iran was caught on tape calling for the death of America. Watch this.
هدفشون این است که مردم ایران رو در مقابل نظام اسلامی قرار بدن. این توجه بفرمایید البته بله مرگ بر آمریکا چون آمریکا اون عامل اصلی این فشارهاست.
Now, clearly, the people you just witnessed chanting death to America, they don't like you, they don't like us, they don't like our way of life, and they're definitely not in search of the American dream. Now, here's the most alarming part of all. The left is in a pre-9/11 mentality. They've forgotten the past. And I fear, as a country, we may be doomed to repeat this. So to all of you out there applauding this Ninth Circuit decision, listen up. It's time for a very important history lesson. You may remember September 11, 2001, America changed forever after an al-Qaeda orchestrated terror attack devastated our country and led to the deaths of nearly 3,000 people. And as documented by the 9/11 Commission report, Dr. Condoleezza Rice testified that for years, quote, the terrorists were at war with us, but we were not yet at war with them. Now, that finding is so compelling because in the years leading up to 9/11, it was no secret that Islamic extremists were hell-bent on destroying the United States and killing the American people. In fact, leading up to 9/11, terrorists were responsible for, remember, the bombing of the Khobar Towers, the bombing of the embassies in Tanzania and Kenya, a deadly attack on the USS Cole, and even the first World Trade Center attack. In 1993, we had plenty of warnings. We have a similar buildup now in violence all across the world. Europe has been rocked by terror attack after terror attack, and here at home, Islamic extremists. Remember San Bernardino, the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Chattanooga, Fort Hood, the Boston Marathon. ISIS has repeatedly declared war on this country, just as al-Qaeda did prior to 9/11. And right now, those so-called journalists and the alt-left radical mainstream media, they're lying. And they're calling President Trump's temporary travel ban a religious test or a Muslim ban. And they are doing a complete disservice to you, the American people. If we do not take this threat seriously, it's not a matter of if. It is a certainty. It's a matter of when we will be hit again. It's going to happen. So to all of the people conspiring out of political correctness, trying to stop the president's safety measures, I'm warning you, you will be tied to all of this. And yes, I'm talking about Senator Chuck Schumer and his crocodile tears and the hypocrisy he's shown, President Obama, who appeased Iran and couldn't even say the words radical Islam, the liberal and Democratic politicians, members of the mainstream media. I've said this many times to all of those out there who are more worried about the slight inconvenience of a few travelers versus the lives of the American people. To you, my message is clear. If another 9/11 style attack is committed here in the United States, blood will be on your hands. Deal with that.